Hello everyone, it's Josh again, and welcome back to this mini-series where we think together about key aspects framing the writing of your BA or MA thesis in Applied Linguistics and Multilingualism. In today's video, we'll zoom in on a critical part of the thesis, which is the literature. Let me start with something I see every single year. The moment students realize how much literature exists on their topic and they begin to panic. Suddenly they find there are hundreds of articles, multiple theoretical frameworks, there are conflicting findings, there's this quiet fear that you're supposed to understand all of it before you're allowed to even ask a research question. So let me say this very clearly. You're not expected to master the field. You're expected to sort of orient yourself within it. And working with the literature is really not about just collecting sources or proving how widely you've read. It's about learning how to think inside of a scholarly conversation. So don't think about the literature as a checklist, but as a landscape, and your job is to understand what the terrain looks like and where you stand within that terrain. So how do you actually get started practically? Well, first, do not underestimate the value of speaking to a librarian. Librarians are specialists in navigating databases, and they can really help you refine keywords and combine search terms very strategically so that you can be super targeted, and then you'll be able to identify even sort of field-specific databases. So a conversation with a librarian can really save you a lot of hours. Second, use tools like Google Scholar, but do it intelligently. Start broad and then begin refining. Pay attention to which articles are cited repeatedly. Click on the cited by icon and then follow chains forwards and backwards. And that's how you begin to map the field. And don't think about articles as some sort of isolated texts, but they talk to each other, right? Your job is to look for relevance and for patterns. As you begin gathering sources, organization does become essential. Please do not keep references scattered across different folders, your phone, your laptop, your computer, whatever. Choose a reference manager early. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Commit to that reference manager, learn how to use it, enter complete bibliographic information from the beginning and keep PDFs attached. Tag them by theme, and ultimately future you will be grateful. I'll tell you, sloppy reference management can really create lots of stress throughout the entire process, but particularly at the end. So this kind of writing, academic writing, it's not just about being an academic, it's about being disciplined, and that's something we sometimes learn a bit too late. Now, when you read, do not read passively. Take notes, take them in a way that helps you think. Some of us prefer paper notes, some of us prefer digital notes. There's something powerful, in my opinion, about writing summaries, arguments, questions in a notebook. When you write by hand, you process more slowly, more deeply, you reflect more, you organize things differently, you get to choose colors, and you interact with information in a different way. So take notes about everything. Take notes about what research questions are being used, what theories, what findings, what's the assumption underlying a study, and very importantly, take notes of how one article relates to another article and the whole thematic structure. And that helps you really map out what the field looks like. Now that takes me to this idea of relationships. Research is relational. It's all about connections. So draw arrows, draw word maps, clouds, whatever helps you connect concepts, ideas, identify theories, identify clusters, and identify how things can be grouped. That helps you move from isolated thinking to structural thinking, and that's how the architecture of the field sort of reveals itself. And writing, when you know the architecture of the field, helps you not be that overwhelmed and helps you structure the field as a whole. As you continue reading, shift from collecting data or detecting patterns in the sort of articles as data to finding flows of meaning, to finding flows of argument, and what are people disagreeing on or agreeing on, or what are the theories that always come up? What are authors that keep returning? What frameworks sort of dominate the debates? And that repetition really is not redundancy. It helps you orient yourself. If everything you see feels disconnected, your topic may be too broad. If everything feels nearly identical, you may be narrowing into a specific conversation. Now, both situations really inform you. They're very informative. They help you see something about the research process and where you are. The next major shift is moving from summarizing to structuring. A lit review is really not organized by authors. It's organized by ideas. It should not read like a sequence of mini book reports. Instead, it should group research thematically. So you might structure sections around methodological approaches, theoretical perspectives or concepts, populations studied, major findings. But always remember that writing is not the final step after thinking. Writing is actually the thinking. When the literature feels messy in your head, it's usually because your ideas have not yet been structured on the page. And it's part of the process. Yeah, writing helps you think through a cognitive fog. As you draft, patterns sharpen and tensions become clearer, and then your own positioning begins to emerge. Now let's address the idea of the gap. Many students believe they must discover something completely untouched, and that really is rarely necessary at the BA or MA level. A gap is usually not an empty space, it's more like a tension, and perhaps research has been conducted in one country but not another, or perhaps studies focus on adults but not teenagers, or perhaps most research, say, uses surveys, but interviews are really underrepresented in the research. So perhaps scholars interpret findings through cognitive lenses, but not through critical lenses or other lenses. So sometimes studies contradict each other, and that's where the tension may be, and those are legitimate entry points. Those are great doors for you to open and explore. Look for something that's been underexplored or under-resolved or unresolved or insufficiently examined. Research is recursive, it's not linear. You'll return to the lit review and the literature later on. You'll continue to draft. New sources will continue to emerge. Your own data may ask for new forms of evidence or new types of background information, and so you'll be returning to the literature later on. Remember that your BA or MA thesis is really not about revolutionizing the field. It's not about solving world problems, but it's about you showing us that you can actually organize your ideas coherently, visualize relationships, tensions. You can come up with a meaningful research question, and ultimately you can enter this scholarly conversation in a way that's mature and that's ethical and that's well structured. Well, it is when you achieve this that you can begin to think in terms of your research question, moving from this engagement with the literature to something more concrete that will underpin the design of your project. And that's what we will be discussing in the next video. I'll see you then. Bye.